London, 1977, a quiet, ordinary street. Suburban homes lined neatly, children playing outside during the day, birds chirping in the morning light. Inside one of these unremarkable houses, the Hodgson family lived quietly, unaware that their lives were about to be shattered. Peggy Hodgson, a devoted mother, struggling with the everyday tasks of raising her 4 children, and Janet, 11 years old, imaginative, bright, and seemingly normal. It started with small things: tiny knocks on walls, fleeting shadows, whispers in empty rooms. Nothing that anyone could have predicted would grow into the terror that would grip their home. The knocking began softly, almost subtle, easily dismissed. At first, Peggy thought the children were playing tricks. A book misplaced, a toy sliding, an occasional thump in the middle of the night. But Janet knew. She could feel it. Something was watching, something beyond explanation. One night, as she lay in bed, her doll seemed to rise slightly, a faint hovering before it crashed onto the floor. The shock made her scream, waking the entire household. The family laughed nervously, trying to rationalize. But the unease had begun. Days passed. The disturbances grew stronger. Furniture shifted. Heavy chairs moved across the floor. Doors slammed without wind. A glass shattered in the kitchen. Though no one had touched it, objects levitated. Books flew off shelves. The family's nights became sleepless, the air thick with tension. Neighbors began to hear unexplained noises, footsteps in empty rooms, whispers, sighs, strange thuds. One neighbor reported seeing a chair glide across the floor by itself. The fear was no longer contained to the Hodgson home. Curiosity, dread, disbelief, all mixed in the neighborhood. Janet, once quiet and soft-spoken, began speaking in voices not her own. Deep, guttural tones, words she could not have known. Sentences in strange patterns. At times, she claimed to be a man, someone who had lived and died in the house long before. Investigators Maurice Gross and Guy Lyon Playfair arrived. They set up recording devices, cameras, audio tapes capturing strange phenomena. Janet's voice changed suddenly. The room grew cold, the atmosphere electric, objects rattled. A wardrobe shook violently. Shadows stretched across the walls. Her eyes rolled back. Her body moved unnaturally. And the words continued. Whispers, threats, demands, warnings. The house seemed alive, watching, reacting, responding to unseen forces. Police officers came, skeptical, hardened by years on the force. They left uneasy. Some refused to return. Neighbors reported witnessing levitating objects, heavy furniture, moving with no visible force. Television crews arrived. Journalists wrote stories. The city watched, but the phenomenon was not an illusion, nor a prank. Skeptics admitted some events defied explanation. The cold in the room, the heavy air, the sudden sounds. Everyone who witnessed it felt the same. Fear, dread, disbelief. It was as if the house itself had become a living nightmare. Midnight. The sounds intensified. Doors slammed open. Glass shattered. Walls thumped. Floors creaked. Janet levitated slightly off her bed. Her voice changed. Multiple tones at once. I am here. I was here before. You cannot escape. Shadows danced along the corners, moving in impossible ways. A chair tipped over. A wardrobe rattled. The temperature dropped sharply. The children cowered. Peggy prayed. The investigators documented. A presence unseen, but undeniably real, lingered. The house was alive with fear. Maurice Grosse and Guy Lyon Playfair spent months documenting. Tapes recorded footsteps in empty rooms, whispers in dark corners. Objects moved, sometimes violently. Grosse reported feeling touches on his shoulder, cold drafts around him. Playfair noted walls vibrating, unexplained thuds. On tape, Janet spoke in the strange voice, reciting sentences of someone long gone. They questioned skeptics, tried rational explanations. None sufficed. The recordings still exist today, chilling evidence of the unknown. Days turned into nights filled with fear, meals interrupted by crashes, sleep disturbed by screams, objects thrown across rooms, doors slamming, unexplainable cold spots. The family lived in tension, clinging together for comfort. Janet suffered, speaking in voices, sometimes violent, sometimes pleading. The household became a battleground between normalcy and chaos. Neighbors avoided visiting. The street itself seemed tainted. Life in the Hodgson home was never ordinary again. /////. News outlets covered the story. International curiosity. Paranormal enthusiasts arrived. The once quiet suburb of Enfield became infamous. Crowds watched from outside, hoping to witness the unexplained. Journalists recorded, filmed, captured sound. Television crews relayed the events. London's ordinary streets, a backdrop for extraordinary terror. The haunting lasted more than a year. Rooms turned icy. Objects flew, voices whispered. Shadows moved. Even today, those who enter the house feel a weight, a presence, soft knocks, faint whispers, a cold chill in the air. The Enfield poltergeist remains one of history's most chilling accounts, a reminder that some forces are beyond human understanding, and perhaps some houses never let go. Adams, Tennessee, early 1800s, a remote countryside, quiet, with small farms dotting the landscape. The Bell family, a hardworking clan, living peacefully, unaware that their lives were about to descend into terror. It began subtly, a faint knocking in the walls, strange whispers in the night. At first, they thought it was the wind, the animals, something natural, but soon, the impossible became undeniable. A presence unseen, watching, testing, tormenting. John Bell, the family patriarch, first noticed unusual occurrences. Doors creaked open without wind. Objects moved. Tools misplaced in the barn. Strange voices called the children by name, sometimes friendly, sometimes threatening. The family dismissed it at first, thinking it was a prank, but the knocks grew louder, the voices more menacing. Sleep became uneasy, meals interrupted by strange noises. The children grew fearful, the mother anxious, and John, increasingly unnerved. As weeks passed, activity escalated. Furniture overturned without explanation. Chairs slid across the floor. Heavy tables tipped over. A cold, invisible hand seemed to touch family members. Scratching sounds echoed through the walls. At night, the family often heard laughter, sinister, mocking. Neighbors began noticing lights in windows, shadows moving where no one stood. Some claimed they felt an oppressive, malevolent energy around the property. The spirit seemed to focus on Betsy Bell, John's daughter. Katie experienced severe physical attacks, scratches, bruises, objects hurled toward her with terrifying force. Her voice sometimes changed, whispering words she could not recall. The family sought guidance. Preachers and neighbors came to observe, but the phenomenon was relentless, impossible to control or predict. Every night, the fear renewed. Neighbors testified to strange happenings. Some heard disembodied voices, doors slamming violently, furniture moving on its own. Animals behaved erratically, dogs growling at invisible intruders. Even skeptical visitors admitted that the Bell home had become a place of terror. The story of the Bell, which spread across Tennessee, eventually reaching newspapers, curiosity and fear mingled in every retelling. One night, the spirit allegedly spoke directly to John Bell, threatening him, predicting his death. Objects flew across rooms. Beds shook violently. Scratches and bites marked the skin of the family members. Katie fell ill, weakened by fear. Visitors reported being pushed, slapped, or scratched. The home seemed to pulse with energy, alive with malevolent intent. Several ministers and scholars came to investigate. They recorded strange phenomena, heard voices calling names. Unseen forces tugged at clothing. Objects moved without explanation. Witnesses felt sudden chills and oppressive atmospheres in certain rooms. Some claimed the entity even communicated intelligent threats. Every attempt to confront it failed. The Bell, which remained elusive. John Bell lived in constant tension, expecting another attack at any moment. The children were terrified to sleep, often hiding or screaming. Betsy experienced physical and psychological torment. Neighbors sometimes assisted, but even outsiders feared to stay overnight. The family endured months of relentless harassment, fatigue, fear, and uncertainty weighing heavily. It was as if the spirit had chosen them. Personally, specifically, stories spread across the region. Curious visitors arrived. Some fled in terror. Others stayed to witness. Newspapers chronicled the haunting. The tale became legendary. The Bell, which haunted not just the family, but the imagination of Tennessee. The community whispered about curses, spirits, and revenge from beyond. This rural homestead became America's most famous poltergeist case. The Bell, which haunted the family for years. John Bell allegedly died under mysterious circumstances, many attributing it to the witch. Objects continued to move, voices occasionally heard. The legend persisted, becoming one of the most enduring ghost stories in the United States. Even today, visitors to Adams speak of unease, whispers, cold drafts. The Bell, which remains a reminder that some forces are beyond human understanding, and some spirits never truly leave. Essex, England, early 20th century. Borley Rectory, a sprawling Victorian mansion, stood proudly amidst open fields, isolated and cloaked in an air of mystery. From the first day of occupancy, the house seemed unusual. Heavy silence interrupted only by faint creaks. Shadows seemed to move where no one stood. Cold drafts whispered through the hallways. Even the most mundane objects, doors, windows, lamps, seemed to possess a life of their own. The rectory would soon become the subject of legends and fear. Locals whispered about curses, spirits, and unexplained phenomena that seemed to linger around the house for decades. Residents initially noticed subtle disturbances. Keys disappeared from tables, books misplaced, chairs slightly shifted. A ghostly nun was reportedly seen gliding silently across the corridors. Doors creaked and opened on their own, sometimes slamming shut without warning. Footsteps echoed down empty hallways. Even the family's animals acted strangely, growling or cowering at invisible presences. At first, these events were dismissed as imagination or coincidence, but they became harder to ignore with each passing day. Weeks passed, and the activity intensified. Heavy furniture moved on its own, tipping or sliding across floors. Windows rattled violently during calm nights. Objects flew through rooms with uncanny force. Handwritten notes appeared mysteriously. Warnings, cryptic messages, sometimes threats directed at the residents. The house itself seemed alive, responding to presence, reacting to observers. Even skeptics admitted that Borley Rectory had an atmosphere of fear. Sleep became impossible, meals were interrupted, and tension gripped every corner of the house. Witnesses began reporting spectral figures. A nun wandering silently, her pale form gliding down corridors. Phantom monks seen in gardens, appearing only at twilight. Shadowy figures lingering near doors, sometimes vanishing when approached. Some claimed these apparitions made eye contact, staring directly, as if judging or warning. An overwhelming feeling of being watched permeated the rectory. No one felt safe, and the sense of unease never left. The Society for Psychical Research sent investigators. They meticulously documented the strange sounds, writings, and movements. Unexplained noises echoed across rooms. Doors opened and closed. Objects moved with no visible cause. Investigators felt extreme cold, sudden pressure, and an intangible presence brushing past them. Photographs captured faint, ghostly shapes, shadowed figures appearing where no one stood. The house seemed intelligent, aware, responding to their observations. Every attempt to study or control the phenomena failed. The rectory remained a relentless enigma. Nighttime brought the most intense activity. Beds shook violently as if invisible hands were gripping the sheets. Objects flew across rooms. Lamps toppled, bookshelves tumbled. Unseen forces tugged at the residents. Scratches and bruises appeared mysteriously. Frightened visitors often fled before nightfall. Some never returned. Even those brave enough to stay reported feeling eyes on them, cold touches, and the unmistakable sensation of being followed. The rectory seemed to feed on fear, growing more violent and malevolent with each new witness. The family endured constant psychological and physical torment. Sleep was impossible. Footsteps echoed in empty corridors. Doors slammed without warning. Whispers filled the hallways. Messages appeared written on walls or paper, sometimes threatening, sometimes cryptic. The household lived in perpetual fear. Even mundane tasks became harrowing. Entering certain rooms required courage. Every night was a battle to maintain sanity. Attempts to leave were futile. The hauntings seemed to follow, linger, persist. The Bell family's experience, while often overshadowed by Borley Rectory's later fame, echoed similar terror in their daily lives. Word of Borley Rectory's haunting spread across England. Curious visitors came, some hoping to witness the paranormal. Journalists chronicled the events. Stories grew with each retelling. Even skeptics who visited admitted feeling an oppressive presence. The rectory became a landmark of fear. Local folklore transformed it into a symbol of England's supernatural history. The house was no longer just a residence. It was a legend, a cautionary tale. /////. In 1939, Borley Rectory caught fire, partially destroyed. Despite the damage, paranormal activity continued. Visitors reported cold spots, strange noises, and fleeting apparitions amidst the ruins. The once grand mansion became a haunting spectacle. Overgrown gardens, crumbling walls, The rectory's legend persisted. The combination of historical accounts, eyewitness testimonies, and ongoing supernatural claims cemented Borley Rectory as England's most famous haunted house. Borley Rectory remains a symbol of the unexplained. Ghosts, poltergeist activity, and apparitions linger in stories, photographs, and memory. Visitors and paranormal enthusiasts still report unease, whispers, and sudden chills. The house stands as a reminder that some forces are beyond human understanding, that fear, legend, and the supernatural can intertwine, and that certain places, once haunted, may never truly let go /////.